Okay, and here we are. It's Saturday, 10 p.m. here. And I see Colin has also joined. Thanks, man. We really appreciate it. So I told you there will be only 2 participants, but hey, everybody's busy at the field day. At least I can tell that to myself. Okay, so let's switch to the Workbench. Here we go. Still learning about OBS Studio. Maybe a first comment. While there were no new videos for 2 weeks, I had a little bit of a problem with YouTube. I saw a posting from Ellie Katz. She rebranded her channel from Geeky Faye to Ellie Katz and had a bit of an excitement doing that. So I thought I'll do that as well. That means transform my private YouTube channel into a brand account. And of course, it didn't go so well. And I basically ended up in a dead end and I needed YouTube support to sort it out. And with less than 1,000 subscribers, you have to go through the public forum and it takes a while. But in the end, it worked. The channel is back. It's a brand channel now. And in theory, I could transform it or move it to a separate email address now to separate it from my private life. Okay, so what are we going to do today? NFET half-wave experiments. So I thought I show you a few of my NFET half-wave antennas that I basically built during COVID. I mean, that was basically my re-entry into the HamRadio hobby and quite successful. I really like the antenna. It's simple to build, and I think for field day or just getting out in the field and putting a fiberglass mast up, it's really great. So I want to show you what I've done, and then I've also collected a few URLs from other hams, what they have done. And well, basically I'm the idiot here. I also just browse the internet and find a lot of pages and a lot of opinions, and a few are convincing and a few pages are not so convincing, and in the end you try to separate the facts from the lore. And well, my how should I say, my impression is that NFET half-wave antennas work very well, and the target is of course to optimize the transformer. So maybe let's jump right into the slideshow that I've prepared, and I also managed to get in theory the chat window here on the right side. So we see my one and only listener. Hi, Colin, again. So I think every ham who starts building NFET half-wave stumbles across this picture. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's maybe not the most efficient transformer, but it definitely works and it gets you on the air. And as we all know, an antenna is better than no antenna, so there's really nothing wrong with that. And this is more or less how I started as well. Found this picture, and well, what do? Yeah, well, you build it and then you hook it up to your NanoVNA. So a little resistor on one side, and then you measure it with the NanoVNA, and it doesn't look too bad. And then you start building your first NFET antenna. And yeah, that's also what I did. And of course, then you read a lot, and you say find out that okay, the standard transformer here probably has 1 or 2 dBs of loss, but I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it. So and it's also very easy to get. So basically you can use the FT114 43 or the 240 43, and that definitely gets you on the air. Yeah, you're right. The benefit of the standard design, Colin, is that it's very broadband. So you basically, yeah, it's maybe not efficient, but it's very broadband. So you can do 80, 40, 20 and go up to 10, and yeah, that's fine. So let's go back. You see only the one I started. Okay. This is because I'm stupid. Let's try again. Here we go. Thanks, Colin. See, that's the benefit of having getting some feedback. Otherwise, I could make a complete pig's ear out of myself, and nobody will notice. So, a quick rerun. Yeah. So that was what I was talking at the beginning. 49-to-1 transformer, standard design. Every ham stumbles over that. And then you wind it. And then you connect your termination resistor, 2300 ohm or 2700, I can't remember. And then you hook it up to your NanoVNA, and you get a very nice SWR. And yeah, then you start building your antenna. So mistake made before, I was in studio mode, so it didn't show the slideshow. I was having my slideshow on the left side, not on the right side. Oh well, next time. Okay, and then basically, yeah, I built, put it in a box, but this is already a different design, I think. This is already 3 primary and maybe 21 secondary. And I even found another interesting design from an OM. Let me find the call sign. I have it in the list of links that we can look at later. So this is that looks really spectacular, doesn't it? I really like it. I'm kind of sad that during the testing I ripped it apart, because that is really, I mean, look at it. I mean, this is how transformer should look like. Can't I get my web page to show up? It's being a bit stubborn. Anyway, I have it in the list of links. We'll look at it later. There's basically a big article from an OM, I think from the US, why this way of winding the transformer might be better. So I cannot really judge if it is. From my experience, at least with the 114-43, it was not working better or worse than the standard design, but the 114-43 was working pretty well to begin with. So maybe I should try that with the 240-43. Okay, what else? Okay, of course, I put it in a 3D printed box at some point. And then I also experimented with, close wound transformers instead of, spreading it out over the whole core. And this is, I think this is also 3. I think it's even 4 to something. We'll all see it later in the list of URLs that I collected. I mean, I basically got these ideas from various web pages. Unfortunately, I was not very successful with all the other designs. I mean, the one thing that worked still best for me is the box standard FT114-43 with 2 to 15 windings. So basically, 7, and then the 8 turn is the one where it changes direction, and then another 7. So that works best for my mounting position, which is, I admit, not optimal, because if you go to the web, you also find pages that tell you how you should set up your end-fed half wave, and Of course, I've chosen the worst one, out of the roof window down into the garden, and not the other way around as it should be done. Yes, I'm just reading the chat comment from Colin. He recently done a lot of experiments, so if you follow his Twitter channel, he's cranking out transformers like mad. So it's great that somebody does it. And I think he also shared a Google spreadsheet, but I think it has disappeared now. I'll check afterwards. I have it in the URL collection. But it somehow made it into the, I think, into the Google trash can. I don't know if that there's a new one. Maybe, Colin, you can tell me in the chat if there's a new link to your spreadsheet, or you've withdrawn it temporarily and I shouldn't share it. Okay, here's another picture of close wound. At some point, I gave up with putting everything into a box, and I just, hung the torroid right. That's the view out of my roof window, and there's the wire, and I just directly hooked it up because I was trying different variants so often that putting everything into a box was time consuming. But it's back again. Okay, great. Thanks, Colin. So I'll check it out afterwards. I've made a collection of URLs, and your spreadsheet is in the list. So that was basic. I think from the color temperature. I basically scavenged my Twitter history of the last 3 years, and picked everything that looked like NFET half wave for this slideshow. So I think that was another test with 3, 2, I don't know, I have to remember, whatever windings. And as you can see here, it works probably very well for the lower bands. But I think, so that was 80 here. You got SWR1 to 1.22, but then very quick for the higher frequency, it doesn't work anymore when you have too many windings on. So as Colin mentioned, basically you can't have everything. You can't have it super broadband and super efficient in all bands. So there's a bit of a trade-off. And if you know that you only do, 80 and 40, then you can, adjust your transformer and make it very efficient there. And then probably for the higher bands, you have a different one. And if you're out in the field or in the garden, then and swapping out one transformer with the other, it's also not so hard. One might even put 2 in a box and put a switch in. Maybe that's also an option. Okay, how many more slides do I have? That is my upside down, but this is so far my most successful build. As I said, 2 to 15, and as you see, I even did something cheeky for quick comparison, and again, that has probably problems because it adds capacitance at the output, but basically I tapped it at 2 to 14, 2 to 15, 2 to 16, put on 3 different screws in, and now it's basically easy to see the difference. And I have some NanoVNA recordings where basically that show you the difference. It basically shows you that the 2.216 works a bit better on the lower bands, and the 2 to 14 works a bit better SWR wise. Can't guarantee that all the HF gets onto the air. But at least SWR wise, you see the difference that the 2 to 16 is better for the lower bands, and the 2 to 14 is better for the higher bands. And the compromise was then for me, for my position, the 2 to 15. Okay, so that was a slideshow, or no, one more to go. Yeah, I think here I tested if it makes a difference when you tap the winding versus the twisted winding, and I don't think it makes a big difference. So whatever is easier. So I think tapping, sometimes tapping it is easier because you just, scrape off the enamel and then you basically solder a second, you solder the second wire on, and that also works quite nice. Okay, and of course I also had to build the big variant. You don't see it from the picture, but this is the 240-43, while all the previous pictures were 140-43. Okay, and yeah, here I was experimenting with basically stacking two 140-43, and again going with 3 primary windings and the matching secondary one to get to the 1:49 transformer ratio. But here you already see it, that the SWR shoots up when we go to the higher frequency. And yeah, I don't know how your desk looks like, but mine looks like a right mess, Colin, when I'm trying things, So this is how it looks like while playing around. Okay, and at some point, I read in the forum, I think it was kurz.com, some comment about, I don't know which OM it was, but basically it was more or less a rant that says, hey, the -43 mix is the worst you can possibly use. Either go for the -61 or go for -52. Never use the -43. And so I had an experiment here with 2 stacked 140-61, as you can see. And it looked quite promising, I must say. It definitely, it was more for the higher bands. What was that here? I can't see. It was that, I think that's 10 megahertz here, right? But once I hooked it up to the real antenna, it didn't work at all. So I don't know. I'm just not the expert in complex permeability and all the pitfalls and close winding and spread windings, and how the interwinding, how the capacitance of the different windings affects everything. So it's like, yeah, it's it's a bit tricky, and just doing try and error without having a clue is, yeah, well, you could get lucky, but so far I didn't get lucky. I was just reading a lot what I found on the web and tried it out myself, and so far the result was 140-43, 2 to 15 windings works best. But as I've already put in the description of the video, there are chunkier cores now from Fair-Rite, and they are really promising, especially if you follow Colin's findings. And there's also other OMs. I think there's a page, I think Owen Duffy has made an analysis how the chunky small core works, and yeah, it's really, yeah, I think I should get one. The only catch is, ordering from Mauser, you have to either bite the bullet and pay the ridiculous shipping cost, or order enough cores. So what was that? I think that was another try. I can't remember. I just basically, here, now we are getting to the real deal. So I basically just, scavenged my Twitter timeline of all the bits I tried during the last 3 years. And in the end, I think this was what I got with my shortened 80 meter NFET half wave. So it has the 110 microhenry coil in. And the NFET half wave was built in place. So basically I cut it at the mounting position. So at the exact location and surrounding where it is. And this is probably the best thing you can do when you build your own NFET half wave. If you want to mount it in your garden, put it there where you really think it will stay, because then all the trees and fences and all the environment, basically, you can basically cut it exactly so that it is fine in the mounting position. And I can show you later. I still have exactly the same NFET half wave, but I mounted it now a bit differently. And while the mounting position is better, since I have not built it in that position, a few of the dips here are a bit off. So I'm not really center frequency anymore. So that was when I built it at a specific mounting position. And then we can look at the different frequencies. So that's 80 meter. It's pretty narrow, but basically you can see, yeah, you go here, where is 1 to 2, somewhere here, from, I don't know, 3.6 megahertz to maybe 3.7, or a bit higher than 3.7. We are below 1 to 2 SWR. Then this is yeah, you're right, Colin. This is really, they're, in a way, they're dead easy to build, the NFET half-wave antennas, but of course they work best when you build it in place or always mount it in the same way. So this is also what I will do when my spider beam masts show up. I will build another one exactly for the vertical mounting position and cut it to length. So I guess it will work well. So here's the, I don't want to bore you with more SWR curves. So here that's the what I got on 20 meter. Then what is this? 21 megahertz. Then here, yeah, that was, yeah, this is why I'm always surprised about your findings, Colin, because this is for me 40 meter band. I don't know what it is. Something in my surrounding makes that work, because that was the 40 meter band is always the one where I get the best SWR. I don't know why. Okay, and here this is 10 meter. Then it's not great, but here for this snapshot I probably scaled it. So here's the 2 to 0, 1 to 2 SWR, and you see, yeah, it's also usable on 10 megahertz. Okay, and that was the last test I did and failed. That was, yeah, now we are back to the beginning. This was, I think I still have it on the workbench. Let's go back to the workbench. Yeah, right. So these are the two last tests that I did. And do I have a whiteboard here? No, I don't have a whiteboard here set up. But basically on the left side, this is 3 FT140-52, and on the right side it's 2 stacked 140-43. Okay, and now at the bottom you see why we do this live stream at 10 p.m. because this is the shack, and the shack is not isolated to German standards, so it's boiling at 40 degrees during the day, and now I have all windows open and we are slowly getting to an acceptable temperature. The only conside is I had to put the cat into a harness because she likes to climb out of the roof window and visit the neighbors. And yeah, I already had distraught neighbors ringing my doorbell saying, oh, I got the shock of my life. Suddenly a tiger was in my bedroom or something like this. So, okay. So how long is the stream running already? Oh, already 30 minutes, and I'm just rambling on and boring everybody to death. So let's jump to the important bit, to the SimNEC bit. And this is the, here I've opened basically the recordings. I found it somewhere on my hard disk. That was the shortened NFET half-wave 8040 20 15 10. And at that time, I basically recorded the complete sweep from 1 to 30 megahertz or so. And then I individually recorded each band to get better resolution. So you can scroll in here, and then you see, yeah, this is the 40 meter band, for example. Okay, and now let me move the window to the other side. But of course it resized. That's the catch here. I have a monitor which is not full HD, and I'm streaming in full HD, so I try, yeah, I think this is as good as it gets. Okay, so what I really like to do is in SimNEC, I mean, yeah, SimNEC is ridiculously powerful tool, and if you know your electronics and your complex permeability and your C's and L's and R's and everything, you can do fantastic simulations. But another cool feature of it is you can basically record directly from the NanoVNA curves, and you can then overlay them. So let's start with a new page and say we go from 3 to 30 megahertz, and I don't know, 500 points, a bit overkill, doesn't matter. And then I can add here traces that I've recorded before. So I can go to my SimNEC folder, and I can go to my 140-43 folder. Let me quickly check if you see. Yeah, exactly. You don't see the selection dialog. Basically, I have to tell you because OBS Studio only shows you the main window and not the dialogues. I don't know why. So you go to File, Add Trace, and then you can basically load pre-saved traces, and this is what I'm trying to do now. So let's add, let's see, yeah, number 1. Let's add another one and another one. So that was my basically recorded from my build, where I had the 3 taps. So I had the tap at 14, at 15, and at 16 windings. And here you basically see, well, you see the difference when you zoom in. So you basically see the 2 to 14 gives you a lower SWR. Yeah, I have to scroll one more. Gets you a better SWR here, for example, at 10 meter. But the 2 to 16 gives you a better one when you go here to 80 meter. But mind you, the spread is also not so huge. So I think I mean, of course, I tried to optimize this a bit or find the sweet spot. But basically, you see here how it basically tilts around. With 16 windings, you have the deepest SWR dip here on 80, but it's also not great here. It's, what was it? Let me click on it. It says 1 to 1.9, so not super great here. And with the 2 to 14 windings, you have the deepest SWR dip on 10 meter with 2 to 14. So that's why I ended up in the end with my situation, with my mounting situation, with 2 to 15. This is why I picked that, because it's like the compromise where all bands. I was even scrolling at the wrong. Here we are with 10. Sorry, I I was not scrolled out too far. I was looking at a different band. So yeah, so the 2 to 14 is good for here for 10, and the other 14 megahertz, 21 and 29 gives you the deepest SWR dip with 2 to 14, and then the 2 to 16 is suddenly better with 40 meter and with 80 meter. So and okay, so unfortunately I cannot show you how that works, because the OBS Studio doesn't show the dialogues. But basically, let me just quickly walk you through. So there's a let me find the right menu and tell you. So you go to the option View, and then NanoVNA Connect, and then you can also select. Maybe I can share it if I change the window name. Let me see. Can I? Here. Now, it only shows one window, but I can share it. Here we go. So this is the view, the option you get when you click on View and go to NanoVNA Connect. And here you basically can select what sweep you want, so 3 to 30 megahertz. And then another benefit is you can also choose a different step size. And that basically means you get more points. By default, if you have one of the cheap nano VNAs, at least I have, I don't know, was it version 1.3 or something? It only has memory for 100 steps, yeah? And if you then record from 3 to 30 megahertz with 100 steps, you basically get pretty coarse resolution. So you could reduce the step size here. And then basically, of course, the scanning will be slower, but you get basically better resolution, something that you cannot do when you just record with the NanoVNA standalone. And what you also have to do then, when you choose a step size, you have to do a calibration. So basically the same as you do online, the same as you do when you use your NanoVNA standalone, you know, with the 3 connectors that they give you, open and short and the 50 ohm termination. You basically do exactly the same, but calibrated via SimNEC. And this is because when you choose a smaller step size, then also the calibration will be more accurate, because for every data point, it will do the calibration basically. And I have saved a few calibration files with different step size. So here I have a 0.1 megahertz, 0.05 and 0.01. And I think this is the default, which is pretty fast, but also coarse. And this is twice as many data points, and 0.01 is, well, that almost takes a minute. And I mean, at some point, you have to be aware that, I mean, the NanoVNA sweeps basically the antenna. So there's a little bit of RF going to the antenna. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm too paranoid, but I think, you know, doing a sweep that takes 5 minutes, for example, where you more or less transmit, in quotes, completely out of the HamRadio band, that's also not the way to do it. So you can go higher, but you should not, you know, go over the top. I mean, you can, I think 0.05 is already a bit borderline. But it gives you a much better resolution. So you do the calibration, and then you can write it, and afterwards you can basically, when you come back, you can just load the calibration file again. Okay, let's go back to sharing the other window. Here we go. Let's just try it live, why not? So let me go to a new circuit and hook it up. And let's just do a recording just for the fun of it and see. How it looks like. Now I have to pick my NanoVNA, which is still on the workbench. 1 second. Okay, I got it. Back to SimNEC and back to view NanoVNA Connect. And as expected, it says no. Now it's working. Okay, let me share. Oops, not that one. Where is my window? I'm not very good at this yet. Here we go. So, yeah. So basically, it even detects the COM port. So you can here say, this is my NanoVNA. And then I can choose a calibration and, well, just, let's say, yeah, and then you can click on, okay, recording, reflection, symmetric, not symmetric, shunt, series, all kind. I go with reflection only, just want my SWR. Then I click go, and then it says working, and it's doing the sweep. And as you can see with the selected resolution, it already takes a while. And we can go back to the main page. And here we have, yeah, live today, 8:42 local time. This is the SWR curve. What you can also do here is on the left side, when you click with the left mouse button, you can move up and down. And with the right, no, with the scroll wheel, you can zoom in. So if you say, okay, I only want to know everything which is below 122, then you can play around here a bit and zoom in. And the good thing is, if you have recorded something before, you can then add a trace and say, okay, this is what I've done right now. I don't know, added a new NFET half-wave transformer, try a new winding or whatever, and I want to compare it what I had yesterday, and then you just say, okay, let's add a recording, and then you can basically compare it. And now you see the blue one was what we've just recorded, and the pink one is what was a test that I did a few days ago. Another nice thing is, if you go here down, you can click fold, And I think what fold means is it overlays the 3 different bands. So when you then zoom in, it looks ridiculously complicated. But basically, it overlays the, I think it overlays the 3 SWR dips for the HamRadio bands. So basically, you have in one view your dips of all the bands. I have not really found out a lot about it, but it might be useful when you are or when you are recording, or when you're tuning something, or if you tweak an antenna where you say, okay, I'm moving one element of a specific antenna to get it resonant on 10 meter, and then I want to make sure that I'm not, screwing up the other bands. So that's what this fold option, I think, is used for. Okay, so that basically was all that I wanted to show you about NanoVNA. Well, that was basically more recording the data and making use of the visualization in NanoVNA. Of course, you can also go to the SimSmith chart, and it looks crazy for an NFET half wave. Okay, so now let's look at the, oh dear, I'm already going for 44 minutes. And Colin is really kind to stay with me. But maybe I hope it's entertaining while he's winding new coils. Let's see. Here are the web pages that I've collected. And I probably should put them in the video or live stream description afterwards. So the one that I really recommend, so if you're completely new to NFET half-wave antennas, you should look at this PDF from a presentation from K1RF. And I think it's okay, just reading the comment from Colin. Yes, I have not shown you that, but I think I'll save it for another time. What I did is the original recording from my NFET half wave was where it was mounted in a certain position, and now I've mounted it slightly different, and now I have exactly what you are saying, that because of the mounting position, my, I don't know, I think my 20 meter band is a bit too low, and the next band up is a bit too high. But I think this is because my antenna zigzags through the garden, and I have a few 90-degree turns in there, and where I have the 90-degree turns, I have one of these, how should I say, for boating, I think, one of these metal things with a plastic roll, and that's where my wire goes round. And of course it adds capacitance or, well, distortion to the antenna, and so it gets a bit, is a bit detuned on some of the bands. I mean, of course, if you have a big field and you say, hey, I'm having 40 meters in one direction, or even 80 meters, I mean, that would be ideal. But I live in a terrace house, and the garden is really small, so I'm interested to see what happens when I get my spider beam verticals and how much noise I pick up from the neighbor's solar generator and so on. Okay, so back to the links. So number one, K1RF. Let's just open it. And it's a nice slideshow from November 2018. And I think it's a really, really very, very nice summary about NFET half wave. So I really recommend everybody to look at that. There are even a few comments about optimizing and which materials work well. I don't know how up to date it is. This is from 2018, but I think that's an excellent start. I can recommend it. Then I found this page, just this, well, rediscovered because I was collecting all these URLs from PD7MAA. This is basically your box standard tutorial, how to wind a transformer and how to build your shortened NFET half wave. Here is the 40-20-10 variant with the 34 microhenry coil. And the 80-40-20-15-10 with the 110 microhenry coil. And of course, the rule is always, don't, give it an extra 10 centimeters on each side, because cutting down is always easier than, soldering a wire on to make it longer when you're too short. So then the godfather of complex permeability, Owen Duffy, and he has lots and lots and lots of information about NFET half waves on his website. And here I just, went to his blog and typed EFHW, and then you can basically go from the bottom and see everything that he has done in that respect. And it's, well, here it goes even over 5 pages. So two things which are quite interesting. I think there was, he has posted here 2 SimSmiths, or now is it called SimNEC modules for EF half-wave transformers. And I must say, I personally lack the technical background to understand everything that is written here, but it's very thorough, and he basically created a model of these 2 very popular transformer variants. And I suggest, if you're in the trade, or in how I should say, if this is something you really want to learn about, then you have a look here. I'm trying, but I would exaggerate if I would say I understand everything that is written here. Here this is page where Owen looks at one of these chunky Fair-Rite cores. He says Louis CT2FZI did the implementation. I don't know who did it first. But here he basically was looking at the implementation from Louis and, giving it his the full attention. And basically the result was, I think it was a positive comment. Let me look. I'm not sure if I'm on the right page here, but here, thermal measurements, everything. I mean, he really put it through its paces. So, I recommend Owen's webpage. So there's a lot to learn. But I'm already failing at complex permeability. I think he has a calculator here on the pages that should help you in designing this. But I'm not clever enough to know, what are the limitations of the module in order to say, okay, I simulate something, and then I have the confidence that when I build it, what I've simulated, that the reality matches the simulation. That's just something I can't do. Okay, so that was Owen Duffy. Then that was the page from KN5L. All right, was that the right page? Oh, right, no. That's another way of winding the transformer in order to, I don't know, what does it say here in the comments? It should help with the capacitance when you have a lot of winding. So this is like a tricky way where it's, yeah, if you look here at the schematic, it's wound forwards and backwards, and it should eliminate the need for the 100 nanofarad capacitor. This is my high level, I have no clue understanding. So this is another page you might want to look at. Again, also with SimSmith modules. I'm not sure. I think I tried it once, but I was not having exactly at that point in time when I tried it, I didn't have the same cores than KN5L. So it, of course, different cores, or only one, or only 240, 43. You know how it is. You have a lot of Fair-Rites, and you have wound 10 of them, and you don't want to knacker your working setup, and then you come around the example where you would exactly need the toroids that you currently have not available. And there's a second page here that I also found where he has basically photos where he's basically telling us how this winding is done. So winding 4 turns primary, solder secondary winding, 2 turns secondary, and then it's the winding back starts, and yeah, something maybe worth trying or revisiting again. Then I have this was the one I was looking for. A very nice article from Daniel KW40i. Fixed impedance ratio, lower leakage inductance, and fat half-wave transformer. And that was the one you saw earlier with the, fantastic, impressive winding. I'm really... I should build it again. Even if it does not perform for me, it just looks so cool. So I really like this one. And yeah, here he also shows how to wind it and the maths behind it and why it should be better, or yeah, have a look. Good. Then you're coming almost to the end. I have 2 pages which I've already shared on Twitter from Gary Rondor. So he was also doing experiments, but I think he was mainly doing it with carbon resistor, so not with a complex load of a real end-fed antenna, but basically he's done a lot of, this is the inductance, this is the capacitance, does it have enough primary inductance, and so on, and you can go here through the pages, and it also shows the different compensation capacitors. Just checking if the cat has escaped. No, she's still tethered and not climbed out of the roof window. Yeah, and here he was. This was what I was mentioning the other day on Twitter, Colin, where he had an extra coil right after the box, which basically brings down his SWR for the higher bands. Oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe here, yeah, here he did. At the beginning, the previous diagrams were all with the resistor, and here it was live data with a complex load of a real end-fed half wave. So basically, he experimented with different number of turns or small coils directly after the transformer, and also at a distance from the transformer to bring all the bands into resonance, or basically get the SWR dips right where you are in the middle of the ham band. That's the idea. On the other hand, one thing I'm really not sure about is he used a complete cast iron metal box. So I don't know if that has an impact on his experiments. I don't know the technical background, but I think if this is a complete metal box and you have your transformer coming out there, then isn't that whole thing a capacitor? I don't know. I'm not in a position to criticize any of his findings here. I just thought that it is maybe odd that he used a complete cast iron metal box here for his end-fed half-wave transformer. There's also a follow-up article also from Gary, where he goes into, tries to find out the performance of the 49-to-1 Fair-Rite core transformers. And here he's really diving also into complex permeability and uses a simulation model, maybe also in SimSmith or SimNEC. And yeah, if you want a headache, look at it. No, just kidding. Okay, and now finally you've arrived at you. I saved the best for the end. No, here we are at Colin's Twitter page, MM0OPX. You find him on Twitter, and he posts a lot of pictures of all the transformers he's currently winding. Then he has a YouTube channel. I also put that there. Let's quickly go to it. Have a look. I think I've watched the CW video. Yeah, that's why it's red. See, I've proof. I've watched it. Okay, and the important one is probably this one. Let's see if it opens. This is basically the summary. Yeah, file is in owner's trash. It still says it's in the trash can. So maybe can you send me the up-to-date link or post it in the chat, Colin? Then I'll put it later in the video description, because maybe I think this is the link you originally shared on Twitter, and here it says file is in owner's trash. Okay, let's click make a copy. So I'll update it later with the correct link. But what Colin basically did, he got the two chunkier cores. So the Fair-Rite 26436250002. I think this is the smaller one, the QRP variant. And then we have the 26432510002, and this is basically the chunkier version of the 240-43, if I understood it correctly. And here you basically see he's probably wound two of each type and connected them end to end with the NanoVNA and really done all the legwork. So thanks, Colin. It's good that somebody does that and we are not end up with guessing forever and just copying from each other the same design and again. So yeah, I really should try to get hold of these two Fair-Rites. So this is probably the next one that I should attempt to tackle. The FT240 FT114-52 were not so successful for me, and the Dash 61 also not. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not skilled enough to adapt my windings to the changed Fair-Rite. I mean, of course, they have different permeability. So, I mean, the easy thing that I can do is I go to the Amidon calculator and say, okay, the FT 140-43 with 2 primary windings has how many microhenry? What do I need on the Dash 52 or the Dash 61 to get to the same microhenry value? And then I can, of course, adjust my secondary windings accordingly. But I mean, that is definitely not, I mean, that's thinking too easy, right? There's more to it. And this is why I fail. Okay, so I think that was, well, 1 hour of rambling me about end-fed half-wave antennas. Definitely worth a try. And I guess the complete Twitter/YouTube HamRadio community will continue to, try to improve this stuff. I mean, if you just go to Google and type EFHW, you get a lot of links. And the same happens when you do this in YouTube. So there's an infinite amount of postings about these kind of antennas. And what I maybe also should test is go with design without a transformer. So I found there's a few videos on YouTube about the PAR end-fed, which is basically a matching unit. Well, in a way, it defies the purpose of a end-fed half-wave because it is multi-band, yeah. But the PAR end-fed matching transformers, there's basically it's a coil and a little bit of coaxial cable is used as a high voltage capacitor. So basically, you have LC, and you exactly match a single band of your end-fed half-wave. So you basically would need one of these things for each band, I think. So that is maybe something that I should try, because if I remember, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, right after I got my DL license, I had also a wire down. I mean, it was the peak of the solar cycle. That's one thing. But I also just had a wire down into the garden, and I also just matched it with a C and a L. And I did, at that time, I did CW QSOs with it without any problems, with some DIY QRP transceiver. Okay, as I said, peak of the solar cycle, so maybe not so astounding. But matching your antenna with L and C definitely works as well. And well, has the benefit that you don't have the loss in the toroid. Yes, you're right, Colin. So what is convenient? Yeah, I mean that's exactly the sweet, the balance that you always have. Yeah, if you want something that goes over all bands, it's not perfect on all bands, but it's very convenient because you just hook it up and you press on your transceiver and you use it. And if you want it efficient, then you're automatically limited to maybe 1, and if you're lucky, 2 bands. So there's no free lunch. But yeah, as I said, any antenna is better than no antenna. Okay, so I think maybe I should wrap it up with a picture of one of your not your lunch. I want your here. That's the picture we want to see. So this is I think that's the QRP Fair-Rite core, right? With 3 primary windings. So this is something which is probably working very well. Okay, so what I will do is I'll post all these links in the description, and then we'll see what we do next week in terms of videos. Here we go. Temperature has dropped to 22 degrees, so now I can switch off the switch on the rig and see what's going on. Okay, so thanks for watching, and until next time. And again, thank you very much, Colin, for joining. Then I was A, not only talking to myself, and B, I would, if you would not have been there, I probably would have done the whole stream with a static picture and not realized that I need to disable the studio mode here to see all the screenshots. Okay, so 73, until next time, and I'm ending the stream now. Bye.